All right, welcome to another week of It's Still Real to Me, Zaslow Show 2.0. Jonathan Zaslow here, of course. My pal is Joey Levine, my co-host for It's Still Real to Me, where we give you all the big week stories in the world of pro wrestling. We had breaking news in the middle of this week. We did a bonus episode. What was it? Wednesday night, I think maybe it was Wednesday or Thursday night. So this was a very big week in the pro wrestling world, even though there wasn't, per se, a big pay-per-view or a premium live event. Pro wrestling was a buzz all over social media. So we gave you a bonus episode. If you missed that on Mandy Rose being fired, you can go back in the Zaslow Show 2.0 archives. You can check that out. Joey, we're coming at everyone on a Sunday today. Things got a little wonky yesterday on a Saturday. How you doing this morning? Are you recovered from last night's Dolphins loss? Are you angry about that?
It's frustrating. It's frustrating to be where the Dolphins were at and then just kind of feel like business as usual for for the Dolphin fan. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see. We'll see how the Packers game is next week. But yeah, I'm recovered because it's not shocking to lose to Buffalo in Buffalo, but it's tough.
So I've recorded. I haven't watched it yet. I mean, I was there. I lived it, but I set my DVR. I'm recording for the next couple weeks. Impact, okay? Because this a couple nights ago, I think it's maybe Thursday night, Wednesday or Thursday night. Impact is on Access TV, which apparently I get, and so I set it to record. So me and my son, we're gonna go back. My son's out of town this weekend. We're gonna go back and watch in a couple days. I would imagine we're on TV a bunch because we're in the front row. So we're gonna go back. We're gonna watch a little bit of Impact. I got that saved on my DVR there, but. As far as the big two, if you will, WWE and AEW, I gotta tell you, I want to start with AEW Dynamite. Okay. Which would be the second straight week that we're starting with AEW. Not that there wasn't cool things that happened in WWE, because there were, but I want to start with Dynamite because, and not only do I want to start with Dynamite, I want to start with Action Andretti and Chris Jericho.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, so obviously. This match was incredible, all right? But I'm watching the match, all right? And one of my sons are in the room with me, and he says something to the effect of, why is Chris Jericho fighting this guy, And my son's watching it in passing. He doesn't watch every week with me anymore. Why is Chris Jericho fighting this guy? And I'm like, he's coming off of a loss, and they want to make him look strong. That's exactly what I said to him.
He needs a tune-up. He told Tony Khan he needed a tune-up.
Yeah, I said he just lost his Ring of Honor title, and they want him to look strong, and so so now the match goes on. Now we're several minutes into the match, and clearly this is not going in the direction that everyone in the world thought it was going in. And so then my son turned to me, he goes, "Is it possible that Jericho doesn't win this match?" And I go to him, I go, "No chance. There's no chance." And this was a phenomenal match. Part of it was because, when pro wrestling surprises you, that really is when pro wrestling is at its best. And so you were super surprised with this match, but it got to a place in the middle of the match, Joey, where, whoa, is it I still didn't believe it until it happened, but is it possible that Action Andretti, who I've never heard of, is going to win this match, which shows you what a fantastic job, not to take credit away from Andretti, but what a fantastic job that Jericho is doing. If at some point in the middle of that match, I'm actually questioning whether or not Jericho is going to lose.
Yeah. And it was so like the crazy, one of the crazy things too was I rewatched the match. After I watched it twice just to sort of see if I could pick up on things during the match. It felt like on the second watch, like the crowd knew something that the TV audience didn't know. The way they were reacting to things didn't seem like the typical way of reacting to a match where it's supposed to just be a squash. Like they were going,
the crowd was a similar reaction to us because
the crowd was going nuts though. The crowd was going ape shit. And it was like,
but that means I thought they had
do they think he can win? So now am I supposed to think he can win?
Yeah, so I thought they had a similar reaction to what I just said, because at the beginning of the match, the crowd is chanting, "Let's go, Jobber." Okay, So like they know they're like this is going to be a squash. And then in the middle of the match, they got to vocalize it because they're there, but they're feeling the same way where, whoa, can he actually win this match? And yeah, the crowd was hot as hell.
Yeah. I think that match is the perfect it's a perfect example of one of the things that I think AEW can do still that WWE can't because of their fans. Like if you took a huge star on WWE and just had him lose to a jobber at this point, I just don't think that live crowd would react the way they did to Jericho losing that match. I don't
like a jobber, like a guy who they've never heard of, like if that match, like if it was Action Andretti versus,
I mean Rollins.
Yeah,
or somebody like that.
You wouldn't get the crowd behind him.
I don't think that SmackDown crowd or that Raw crowd is like,
I think you're right,
really caring, because I think they ultimately are like, all right, I mean, whatever. I mean, also Jericho is, on at a lot of people's Mount Rushmore, so that's different too. But like, yeah, I think this is one of the things about the AEW crowd that is still pretty different from WWE, where it's like, man, they really sold the effect of Andretti winning that match because it became such a bigger deal because of their reaction.
I think you're right. And I think there's an element with the WWE crowd where they're there to see their stars. They're there to see their favorites. When with AEW's crowd, they're there just to see some awesome shit. Yeah. Like that's what's going to entertain them. Yeah. And that was awesome shit. It was, and how about like the double leg hook? He hooks both legs to win the match. You very rarely see that anymore.
Right.
He hooks both legs to win. Like once you hook both legs, I'm like, oh, and then you get the three. I was like, oh, and the very first thing that I thought of, because I'm reading some people on social media or what have you, and calling it the biggest upset in however many years, I don't know. And the very first thing I thought of, man, that was 1-2-3 Kid Razor Ramon is what I just watched.
Well, yeah, I think that's my first instinct too. But if you think about it, and that one was like, what the hell? What's happening here? This is bigger. This is a bigger upset.
That never happened.
But this is a bigger upset. I mean, this is a bigger upset than that was. Like Razor Ramon, man. Here's the thing: Razor Ramon was hot within the company at the time, Intercontinental Champion. He was doing a lot of big things. Chris Jericho was one of the best ever. Ever. Like this
Razor
is like
Ramon was not one of the best ever.
Here's the thing: this is like 1-2-3 Kid beating Hulk Hogan at the time. You know what I mean?
Right.
Isn't it like sort of like that? So even though we think about that one because that was at the time unheard of, like that didn't happen.
Never.
This is technically, if we're just talking about like their standing in the history of the sport, this is bigger. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, was that 1-2-3 Kid's debut?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't remember. Okay. So very similar in that way, but I mean, Jericho's just a different level. I mean,
there was no reason for 1-2-3 Kid to win that match. He wins it with, off the rope. He rolls up Razor Ramon, and it led to a really good feud after that. With the money, the $1 Million Man, then put money on the line, and 1-2-3 Kid stole the bag of money the next time, and it led to a whole big program with those guys. But it made 1-2-3 Kid, obviously, X-Pac, and he's a Hall of Famer now, this is 30 years ago. 30 years ago, I'm still remembering it and how crazy that was as a kid on Monday Night Raw to watch Razor Ramon lose to someone I've never heard of. Are we good? I mean, forget 30 years from now, but like 10 years from now, are we going to be talking about Action Andretti beating Chris Jericho on Dynamite?
I guess it depends on how they book him now. I did read like after the fact, because I looked up this guy because I didn't know who he was.
Right.
I read some people saying that like Jericho had sort of tapped this guy. Like he noticed him on AW Dark or wherever, because he has fought for the company, just not on Dynamite.
Right.
And that Jericho sort of tapped him and is like, this guy's got it. This guy's got something. So I guess it depends how they book him. Also, does he keep Action Andretti as his name? Because that's like a 1990s WWE name right there. But I will say, to your point you made earlier, it's just like, it shows no matter who's doing what in the industry, Sami Zayn, Roman, Seth Rollins, in AEW, you know, the Bucks, all these guys, none of them are Jericho. They're just not. And Roman is the best. The Bloodline's the best thing going right now. But Jericho, he just went from keeping the Ring of Honor, the entire company, relevant for months. Because like no one gives a shit, really. I mean, hardcore Ring of Honor fans care, but really, like we don't give a shit. I don't care. But I loved that Jericho had the title, and I loved what he was doing, and I loved that his gimmick was the Ocho because it was his 8th world title. He goes from that to the biggest upset in the history of the sport, and I guarantee you it was his idea. You know, like his mind is still working on a different level than the majority of people in wrestling, and he's still putting out some of the best work in the industry. It's incredible what he's doing still.
That shit was awesome. It was really cool. We had to start the show today with it. I've been waiting, 3-4 days, whatever it was, to talk about it. That was so cool. It was so cool.
I just hope, for the sake of this continuing to be as big of a moment as it was, that they just let Jericho handle it for a while. Like they're gonna
keep a little program with those guys, right?
But don't let Tony Khan start pulling the strings, because I know everyone loves Tony Khan, best booker ever, whatever. I'm just worried that like something is gonna let Jericho get it like right. Let Jericho do his thing, and then let's see if Jericho can build this kid into a star, because it was awesome, but you can easily become forgettable if like next week Jericho just beats him, right? Like, doesn't it become, or if the guy doesn't go on to become some type of champ, like the reason we remember 1, 2, 3 Kid is because it became an incredible feud, and then he became a Hall of Famer. We don't remember that if like he's off TV a month later. So we need this guy to keep doing something.
Yeah, they got to keep it going. I'll tell you what else I thought was cool from Wednesday night was, so you got Jungle Boy, and I forget who Jungle Boy wrestled on Wednesday.
He wrestled Brian Cage.
Okay, he wrestled Brian Cage, and then the Firm comes out, and you got Morrissey and Moriarty.
Big Bill. That's his name now. Big Bill.
What's that? Like, that's his name now? Big Bill?
Yeah, well, his name was William on the Indies. It was William Morrissey, and then I think he was just W Morrissey or something.
Morrissey's a cool name. Why is he Big Bill?
Now he's Big Bill.
I don't know.
Kind of like Big Bill, I think, is going to grow on you like Butch.
I mean, you want to talk about an old school new generation WWF name? That's a new generation WWF.
But I like Big Bill. I think Big Bill's hilarious. I think it's hilarious.
So they come out and they're beating the shit out of Jungle Boy. And again, when pro wrestling surprises you, that's when they're at their best. And all of a sudden, Hook's music hits. And I was like, oh, like that was a cool moment. And whoa, where's that coming from? And I'm like, why is Hook coming to the ring? And Hook now is coming down. This is a cool segment. I was into that. But here's the problem that I have with it, or with what ended up happening, okay? So I really dug that moment. I thought that was super cool. Like you said, Big Bill, all right, and Moriarty, they're beating the shit out of Jungle Boy. And when Hook gets to the ring, they bail out of the ring. They jump out as if they're afraid of Hook. Now I understand
everyone's afraid of Hook, apparently.
Well, I understand Hook is cool and he's tough, but it's still 2-on-1, and Big Bill is really huge and shouldn't be afraid of everyone. Like, they're afraid that Hook is going into the ring and it's 2 against 1. Like, that was weird to me, man. Like, Morrissey shouldn't be afraid of anyone, let alone if he's in the 2-on-1 advantage. They're just afraid of Hook. That was weird, man.
They have to keep up this persona that they've built of Hook, that he's like the ultimate badass.
Well, could they done like a stare down and then it's like, all right, I'll see you later.
Yeah, sure. But like, he has this thing that ever since they brought him in, it's like this whole like Hook doesn't talk, he just kicks ass, right? And I get it, but also he's not that big. So it's a hard gimmick to continue.
Exactly,
because
he's
small,
not that
and
big of a guy. Morrissey, who's bailing out the ring,
Right. My brother texted me as that was happening and said, "Explain Hook to me," because my brother he watches AEW, but he's on and off, and I just my response was,
"He's just cool.
He's Taz's son. He has big hair. He wears boxing shorts. He doesn't talk, and at times he's eating chips backstage." That was sort of my explanation of
And Danhausen
Hook.
wants to be his friend.
Right, and Danhausen wants to be his friend, but I guess now he's friends with Jungle Boy. So
Right.
but I guess we'll see where it goes. Here's the thing: Jungle Boy is also really small.
Mhm.
Uh, so I don't know which one of them I would prefer to see against big dudes, but
Well,
I
I
don't
guess the
even know
key is
who's
they're
more
gonna.
believable.
Well, I think they're just gonna put them together now, and like that's gonna be the story for both of them now. They're gonna do some tag
Them
team
two,
action,
them two
right?
against the firm, I guess.
Yeah,
Uh,
I
I
guess
don't know.
so.
Yeah, sure. I look. I'm never gonna be all in on Jungle Boy until he cuts his sideburns. So I'm just saying.
The Elite versus Death Triangle was obviously great. Death
Yep.
Triangle goes up 3-1, and the big story is what happened afterward and the stipulation for match 5. But I will tell you, I was really surprised. Like the match is going on, like, all right, what's the best scenario here? The best outcome to set up the rest of the series? And I really thought we were going to see 2-2. I thought the Elite was going to win because if it's 2-2, Joey, I don't know what's going to happen in match 5. In 2-2, either one of them can go up 3 matches to 2. But now it's 3-1. I know the Elite is winning the next match. Like these matches have been too good for it to not go at least 6 or 7. So I thought it was a weird decision. I know they had to set up the no DQ, so Death Triangle wins, but I don't know. Like the Elite could have still won, even though Death Triangle still tries to use the hammer, and then you still could have had Kenny Omega cut the same promo afterwards, saying, "Listen, we're now best out of 3. Let's go no DQ since you guys are so into using weapons here." I thought going 3-1 was a bit of a mistake because the Elite is definitely going to win match 5 now. We all know that.
Right. Well, I mean, I think unless they just completely swerve everybody and Death Triangle wins 4-1,
Right.
this has become now the matches are great,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very cool that they've had 4 matches and they've been 4 different. Like it's not stale. The matches are great, but the story, like the booking of it, has been pretty much from the beginning one of the more predictable things we've seen. Right? Like I think originally we thought maybe it would be 3-0, but now it's just 3-1, and the Elite's going to come back and make a push unless something crazy happens. I think they're leaning too like. I know part of what you like about AEW is they're trying to make it a sport, like trying to make it seem more like a sport.
Right.
They're leaning too much into like implying that this is like an NBA Finals thing, right? 3-1. They bought Round Ball Rock, which they now play Round Ball
I
Rock.
meant to ask you that. Why were they playing Round Ball Rock to start Dynamite? What was that?
So Round Ball Rock, I think because they played it again later on when they were promoing the best of 7.
Oh,
So
I didn't notice that. Okay.
I think they bought Round Ball Rock to be able to play
for this,
which is A, is corny, and B, they did it halfway through the series. Like if you were going to do it in the beginning. Like now all of a sudden Round Ball Rock's just playing.
And well, yeah, because for me, Round Ball Rock was just playing because look,
by the way, for the listeners who don't know what Round Ball Rock is, it's
John Tesh. It's the old NBA on NBC music. It's classic NBA theme song. But as someone who does a sports talk show, I had no idea why they were using it.
Well, it was also just that they did it at the beginning of the show, so it was like playing. Yeah. It was playing minutes before that match even. It was like,
is this this is the Dynamite theme song now? Like I did not understand.
It was if anything, so strange.
Put up the graphic that coming up next we have match 4 in the best of 7, and you got Round Ball Rock playing in the background.
Exactly, because that's what they did.
I did not understand why.
That's what they did later. They did that later on in the show when they were promoting the next match. That was playing in the background of the graphic. But yes, the way but this has been a problem. By the way, we'll have a topic about this in Big Dirt, not Big Dirt, but this has been an issue with AEW from the beginning. They just throw things out there in the middle of their shows where you're like, what the fuck are we doing?
Well, it's 2 weeks in a row that I'm confused about something then. So I was confused about Round Ball Rock this week. The week before, I was very confused about what are the rules with the diamond ring, and
which I guess we got an answer on that this week, sort of, right?
Right, and so yeah, a couple weeks in a row, and I'm pretty hardcore viewer. Yeah. I've been confused about things 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, the Round Ball Rock. So I read, because obviously I'm on the dirt sheets to be able to have Big Dirt, not Big Dirt. So I read I didn't read the article, but I read a headline: Tony Khan purchased Round Ball Rock. I assumed it was for the best of 7, but I can understand that if you just tuned in at the top of the show, you're like, what the hell is happening
What the hell
right
is
now?
going on?
It was so weird to me. Even I was like, wait, why is it playing now?
And are they going
to mention it? Like, will the announce team say anything?
Nope, they did not. MJF Ricky Starks, it essentially look, MJF wins, he keeps the ring. You knew once you had both on the line. Like, if maybe the match was just for the ring, Ricky Starks has got a shot. But when it's for both, the outcome was never ever in doubt. But the whole thing was just setting up for for what's next with MJF, which we know is Bryan Danielson. I just hope that Ricky Starks doesn't just fall into obscurity. I'd like them to kind of keep him around, keep him in the periphery of that title picture, and then revisit as opposed to him just going away.
Yeah, well, I think like the finish keeps the door open, right? Because the low blow. So Ricky Starks always has in his back pocket. He never really beat me. So that leaves it open for Ricky Starks to re-enter the picture. But that was my first thought too, was like, okay, so now what do we do with Ricky Starks? Because he's hot, right? After last week, he's hot. He's a star. So now what? You have him for 2 weeks. You have him feuding with the top guy in the company. You make him into a star. And now
who do you go?
Like, who's the heel to put him against now?
Well, maybe he says to Danielson, listen, I'm glad you came out and you saved me, but I suffered a low blow. I'm not done with MJF yet. And now you got Danielson and Ricky Starks who are mad at each other. Like, no, I'm next. Like, no, it's still my turn. And maybe you do a little thing there. Because we know MJF never wrestles. All right? So if you do something like that, it keeps MJF on the outside looking in, cutting promos, laughing at those guys. Maybe get a little Danielson and Ricky Starks action here for the next few weeks.
That could be good. Yeah, that would be good. Or Ricky Starks is cutting a promo about how he didn't lose, he wasn't clean, he's going to get his shot back, this and that, and then name X big time heel that like insert heel X comes out. It's like, I don't want to hear you complaining, blah, and then they start something to hold it over. I don't know, but you just got to keep giving the guy a mic and let him do his thing and give him some good matches, because it would be a shame if he just falls back into the Team Taz, Brian Cage, Oblivion that guy's in right now, because we know he's good.
So there were a couple things, obviously, that, I'm nitpicking at from Dynamite this week, but I would tell you, I thought Dynamite was pretty awesome this week. Like, I thought it was
good,
really entertaining. I thought it was pretty awesome show.
Yeah, House of Black still just beating the shit out of people, which is always going to be good. I'm never going to not like House of Black, what they got going on right now. That was good. And then we know, I guess, the only I don't like. I don't mind that the Acclaimed is feuding with this Jeff Jarrett crew. I just don't like this Jeff Jarrett crew.
That's the point, man.
I still don't think Jeff Jarrett should be on TV. Like, why is he still on TV? Like, it's not that I don't like the crew. I like Jay Lethal.
Yep.
I like Greater Khali. I like what's the other guy's name who was their mouthpiece before? Sanjay. I like Sanjay Dutt. They didn't need Jeff Jarrett. They didn't. They were good without Jeff Jarrett. So I don't know. Not that Jeff Jarrett's bad, but it was just an unnecessary addition. And also, if you're going to use these old guys, use them to try to get young guys over.
Well, I think that's what they're doing here, no?
Sanjay Dutt and Jay Lethal have been in the business for 30 years.
No, but I mean, as far as the Acclaimed goes, like, they're going to use Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, why does Jeff Jarrett need to be a mouthpiece for two guys who are also great mouthpieces, and they're already in? They've been. Sanjay Dutt is only there. Sanjay Dutt doesn't even wrestle.
Right.
He's only there as a manager, but now it's Jeff Jarrett the one talking.
Oh, is he a wrestler? Like, I didn't even know, because I've never
seen
him wrestle.
Used to be I think he was Impact and TNA. He did the whole thing, right? But he's only there to talk.
Right.
Jay Lethal, who I think we've talked about, has some of the most classic segments in the history of wrestling.
Yep.
Him and Ric Flair doing the woo off and that whole thing. Like, why is Jeff Jarrett? Put Jeff Jarrett with, like, if you want to have someone feud with the Acclaimed, have Jeff Jarrett with the Ass Boys. Be like, your daddy left you. Come talk to me. I'll be the one because I know all about your dad. Like something like that. But why is he
Uh-huh.
with these guys? I don't know. But it's fine. It'll be the claimed are good, so it'll be fine.
Hey, speaking of which, did you? I didn't watch any of it. NXT last weekend, NXT Deadline, and we did the bonus episode on Mandy Rose. Did you watch any of Ring of Honor Final Battle last weekend? I know it happened. I didn't watch it.
Yeah, I watched. So I turned it on a replay of it. I didn't watch it live because I was still up in Austin or over in Austin. But I turned it on. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to give this a shot. And I got like 5 minutes into the first match, and I was like, I don't care about this. I just don't. But I did watch the two matches that I did care about, which was FTR and the Briscoes. Right.
And that looked from the highlights to me, that looked like a bloody mess.
Yeah. And I watched Jericho and Claudio, which was also very good.
Did you like him tapping out to the swing? Was that a cool spot?
I thought it was fine. It's different. I've never seen it before. Right. So if you're going to put the belt,
loved it, right?
If you're going to they went nuts. If you're going to put the belt back on Claudio, what else does he have? I mean, that's his thing. I mean, I guess he has like his. He's
got the cool uppercuts.
The uppercuts are cool. He used to call it like the neutralizer was like his finisher. It was kind of like a power driver thing. But the swing, I've never seen someone tap to the swing, so it's cool. But
like, how long was he doing it for?
Oh, it felt like 10 minutes. it was crazy. It was a long time. Most people would tap, I think, at that point, or would just pass, or throw up, or pass out, or something. Like it was pretty intense.
Wouldn't that be great if the spot was he's doing it for several minutes and Jericho just pukes? It's like when you're on the what's the Galaxy the spinning thing.
Oh yeah, the
at the youth fair, Gravitron. It's like he's on Gravitron. You're just puking. He's puking, and then the referee's like, "That's a submission." And he just rigs the belt.
Yeah, I mean that. Actually, no. The way Jericho works, I'm surprised he didn't do like some type of like foam thing.
Yeah,
where he's like bites down on the foam and he's like foaming at the mouth, and that's how it ends. But I guess if that's how you're going to put it on Claudio, that was fine. I still thought there was more meat on the bone of the Jericho thing, but it is what it is. But yeah, my takeaways were, if you can find it, watch the FTR Briscoes match. It was complete insanity from the moment. It was basically like watching two singles matches. And like at one point they had a double box because they're both connected to each other. Like they're each, but there was blood. Like, I mean, 2 minutes into the match, people are bleeding. People are getting, I mean, it was insane. It was fun. It was just a fun match. And then obviously afterwards, the Ass Boys came out, and that set up an FTR Ass Boys thing. So that's something, I guess. Briscoes win, which is what I wanted, because I hope that means, based on how much we've seen the Ring of Honor titles on AEW programming, maybe we're going to get some more Briscoes, because the Briscoes are fucking awesome.
They have not been on AEW, right?
I think they were the first pay-per-view, like that All In.
Oh, okay.
That was not AEW affiliated.
Right. That doesn't count.
But no, I don't think they've been in on AEW programming, but they won the title. So I don't know what because my thing is like, if they're not going to be on AEW, then what do those titles do for them? Because where does Ring of Honor?
Yeah, I'd like to see them. I know Tony Khan said there's going to be less Ring of Honor matches on AEW programming, because I think they struck some type of internet TV deal. But
Ring of Honor.
Yeah, but I'd like to see the Briscoes on AEW television, because
that must be what it, I mean. I will say maybe that's what it is, because my other takeaway was, other than Samoa Joe, every title changed.
Yeah,
every on the entire card.
Yeah, they're going to start doing their own thing now. Tony Khan said we're not going to see it as much anymore. Yeah,
and the only one who didn't lose his title was Joe, which I guess makes sense, because Joe makes more sense for the Ring of Honor programming. And the guy, Juice Robinson, that he fought, who's really cool, Bullet Club guy, who's now in AEW, he'll probably do more AEW stuff. And then I think the only other thing was, there's this dude, Dalton Castle, who I don't know if you know much, if you've seen him or you know him. He's pretty awesome. He's got like this very he's got this very flamboyant gimmick. You don't really know what it is, but he he like comes, he's called Dalton Castle and the boys. And the boys are dressed up in like peacock feathers. And Dalton Castle has like this big cape that he wears, and he goes, "Boys!" And they come out, and it's just like this whole big thing. And he's like very like, I don't know. I
gotta watch it then.
I've seen him one other time, and I didn't really pick up on how funny this dude was and like the whole gimmick. Apparently, they've been doing it for years because I looked him up, and there's a Rolling Stone article, like an interview with him from like 2015 about him and the boys from 2015. So apparently he's been doing this on the indies for a very long time. But I like that. But yeah, other than that, Briscoe's FTR worth a watch for sure.
All right, so let's get over to what took place in WWE this week. Again, bonus episode of It's Still Real to Me a few days ago under Zaslow Show 2.0, where we hit on all the Mandy Rose stuff, which I don't really think there's been anything new that's come out actually over the last few days. Has there been anything, Joey? That's
there was. I read one thing actually this morning that said they were going to move her up to SmackDown. So I think that probably, like we talked about, the ultimatum was like, if you're in NXT, you can do this stuff, but once you're on SmackDown and you're on Fox, they haven't said that, but that's
maybe
sort of what the implication is like, all right, you're going to be on the main roster and you're going to be on Fox. You got to cut it out. And maybe that's what
I'm telling you, we're eventually going to find out that they gave Mandy Rose a very, a very clear option. And she decided to go with, option B. I think that's what we're going to wind up finding out. Instead of, WWE, they screwed Mandy Rose. Like, I don't buy that. I
still think she comes out of this even bigger on the other side. At least I hope so for her, but either way.
So for anyone listening to the show right now, you want to go, you love pro wrestling. You want to go see pro wrestling live, all right? Well, WWE Live is coming to the FTX Arena Thursday night, December 29, all right? So right before the new year, you got WWE. It looks like it's a SmackDown show because they're advertising the return of Bray Wyatt to Miami, all right? So they're advertising Bray Wyatt's going to be on the show. Right now this stuff changes, but right now, they got an 8-man tag team match that's set up, which is Drew McIntyre and Braun Strowman, Kevin Owens and Sheamus against the Bloodline. All right, that's a match that they're doing right now. And SmackDown Women's Championship, Ronda Rousey versus Shotzi Blackheart. And of course, you got all the other SmackDown superstars. We're talking New Day, Liv Morgan, Imperium, Ricochet. For tickets, you can visit ftxarena.com. I will be there. My son and I, we are going. We are excited. House shows are fantastic. All right. I had to explain like a year ago, when I was taking my younger son, my 11, I was like, what? It's not Raw or SmackDown. It's like, no, it's okay though. House shows are where it's at, man. House shows are so much fun. And he realized that. He's like, yes, house shows. It's nonstop action. There's, you don't get the commercial breaks. Every match is a good length and you get a ton of interaction from the superstars with the fans. House shows are where it's at, Joey.
Yeah, and that'll be awesome. And actually, I don't think I've even mentioned this to you off the recording. Me and my brother are going to a house show at MSG the day after Christmas.
Oh, those are always big. That's a big show. Those are always. They usually.
And I think it's also a SmackDown show. So I think Bray's going to be there, and I know they're promoting Bloodline's going to be there. I don't know about Roman, but
MSG, you may get Roman. That's a big show. Wow, that's cool. So part of this holiday tour, December 29, WWE Live, ftxarena.com. You're going out. Maybe that's a surprise Christmas gift, for your kid. You're listening right now. Again, ftxarena.com, WWE Live on Thursday night, December 29th. Your boy's going to be there. You say hello. Everybody has drinks. We have a good time. I'm
pretty jacked up to get some LA Night Live if it happens. That's really what I'm looking forward to.
Well, so we'll get to LA Knight who played a big role once again a couple nights ago on SmackDown. But let's start things off here with Raw. A few things that stood out to me. Obviously, we got the number one contenders match. You had the two triple
which we
threats.
we basically called like to a T last week on It's Still Real to Me. Like we made like a combined prediction for how this match would go, and we couldn't have been more right.
Yeah, like Alexa Bliss was always going to beat Bayley because of what happened the week before, where damage control cost Becky the match, and then Alexa winds up winning. Well, okay, so Becky's going to cost Bayley this match. Now, she cost her the match indirectly because she took out damage control, all right, at the beginning of the match. So then you get the one-on-one, Alexa and Bayley. I thought it was a good match. All right, Alexa wins. You got Bianca who's sitting there, but the big moment is two things. One, you know that we're getting Alexa versus Bianca, which is obviously going to take place before Royal Rumble because we're still over a month away. So you're getting Alexa Bliss versus Bianca. I dig that, but we know the real story there is not about Alexa chasing the women's championship. The real story is, when is she going to officially turn? They've been teasing it. And as she gave Bianca a hug, because they're friends at the end of the match, and she's been behaving weird in front of Bianca, instead of giving her a hug, she twists her around and she's about to deliver Sister Abigail. And then she came to her senses again and she ran to the back.
Yeah. I mean, so two things. Just to go back on the Becky Lynch, like attacking Dakota Kai and Io Sky. Yes. So all I could think about through the match was, so you're telling me that Bayley can't beat Alexa Bliss? Like,
well,
is
that's
that
her
what
stick now? She's chicken.
I know,
heel,
but to the credit of Graves and the other guy whose name I always forget.
I don't know his name.
I forget his name too. I like him though. He's good. They did they did talk about that in the match. They were like Becky Lynch, attacked damage control before the match, but hey, we know Bayley doesn't necessarily need them. She's a former they actually talked about it
good.
in the match during the announcement. I'm like, okay, at least they had addressed that, because the implication here was Bayley can't win without these two. And I get that that's the storyline, but also she's one of the best ever. So you have to
Alexa's always owned her though. Remember, Alexa in Bayley's hometown in San Jose won the title from her. Alexa has a history of always owning Bayley. Totally. But I just like that they at least they don't again, it's another case of them knowing we're not done. Yes, I like
just say the things that we're thinking.
Yep.
I was thinking it, and then minutes later, Graves was like, well, she doesn't necessarily need them. It helps, but she doesn't need them because she's great. So at least they reference it, because to me, I was just like, this doesn't totally make sense. On the Sister Abigail thing, I love it. I love that they're teasing her being with Bray. The whole setup is cool. But I referenced this a little bit on our breaking news pod. The only issue I had with it is Alexa Bliss is 5 foot nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Bianca Belair is the most athletic woman maybe ever in WWE.
Right.
And the way she just put her in Sister Abigail.
Oh, it was a surprise. It was a sneak attack.
But then just sort of pause there for 10 seconds.
What are you going to do?
I'm like, A, Bianca's not even going to fight it. And B, I guess what they're saying here is that when Alexa Bliss is possessed by Bray, she is now the strongest woman in the history of WWE.
Yeah, all right. You look at it like that.
Yeah, because that's the only explanation I had for why this tiny little woman can just woman handle the strongest, the biggest, the baddest ever. I was just it's a cool spot, but she paused just a little too long to where I'm like, is she going to try to get out of this? Is she going to even attempt it?
When are we going to get the moment? I'm not talking about the moment that Alexa fully turns, but when are we going to get the moment where she and Bray Wyatt cross paths, where they see each other? They haven't seen each other yet, right?
Well, Bray's never on Raw.
I mean, but we're headed toward this. When are they going to run into each other?
I don't know.
I mean, can they
That's
drag
a good
this
question.
out to
I don't
Royal
know.
Rumble? Because they'll all be in the same building for Royal Rumble. Can they drag it out to Royal Rumble?
Well, I mean, we're gonna get to the other thing. They're dragging that out. So
that's my second favorite storyline that's going on right now in WWE.
But yeah, I guess Rumble would make sense, or maybe, I mean, again, December 30th, they're pumping up as this month's pay-per-view, basically. The SmackDown on December 30th. They're basically making it this is really the pay-per-view for this month. So maybe something there. I don't know.
Yeah, the spot's cool. I like what they're doing with Alexa, obviously, and something else that they've done a really good job since Triple H took over. They let these stories play out, man. They don't shotgun these stories. They are not quick. They are like, we're doing slow burns here, man. And I totally dig it. I like having these stories where each week, all right, what's going to happen with this story this week? What's going to happen here? And we don't know. And there's several things that are happening here. There's the LA Knight Bray Wyatt thing that's been going on for a while. You got the Alexa part that's been going on for a while. Bloodline Sami Zayn has been going on for a while. Like, we got stories here that are just advancing through a good amount of time that are slow burns. And I dig that. And I feel like WWE has not gone about their programming like that in many years.
Yeah, I think one of the things I was thinking about after Raw this week, and then even all the way through SmackDown till basically till Roman came out, most of the programming this week was not like the top, like there was not a lot of like top people talking, which like Raw was really just like the others of the storylines sort of shining. It wasn't like Finn didn't like Judgment Day was part of Raw, but Finn didn't come out and cut a whole long promo, right? Bayley, like Becky Lynch, she was only on TV for like 30 seconds.
Yeah, chasing around with a chair.
It wasn't about Becky Lynch. The Bloodline, they did their thing at the end of the show, but there's no Roman. I mean, like they're really Seth Rollins. The US title is. They've done this thing where now it's the most important title.
Same thing with the Intercontinental title,
right.
Man. I'm watching those Gunther promos. I'm like, this is good stuff.
But again, the champ's not even on the show, and it's still, you feel how big it is because of what they've done. Like all of Raw was just, there was not like the most important stuff wasn't on the show, and the show is still really good. And I think that's a testament to the, like you said, the storytelling that they're doing with all of these programs, which is like, Austin Theory doesn't need to be there for us to understand how important this U.S. title is right now, right? I mean, we don't need Becky Lynch starting the show and talking to the crowd for 15 minutes.
Yeah, still
we don't, which is cool, but we don't, because just her attacking sets the storyline and continues it forward. So I think that you're right. They're doing a great job with all that the storytelling.
I want to talk about Asuka and Rhea Ripley here. I think the big takeaway, I mean, this is all just set up, and you told me about this last week where Asuka on her social media has been teasing going back to one of her old characters. And then we officially saw that that's going to be a thing because she comes down to the ring, wasn't doing all the dancing.
No smiling.
She took off the mask, no face paint, face paint. No smiling. I'm like, yes, can we get back to the Asuka that was probably the greatest NXT women's champion, who never lost and who doesn't do all the dancing and the bullshit? Like, let's get back to taking Asuka serious, because, if we're going to measure, if everything's even, she might be the best female wrestler that WWE has.
She's awesome. I love watching her matches.
And we haven't seen that in forever. Like, we were getting that version leading up to WrestleMania 34 when she fought Charlotte, and Charlotte like officially became the first woman in WWE to beat Asuka. Yeah. But we haven't seen it really since then. So that's really what this match was about. The other part that I want to get your thoughts on also. So Rhea Ripley wins the match against Asuka, which is great. It feeds into Asuka needs to change the character a little bit and become a badass again. But Asuka sprays the mist into Dominic Mysterio's face. And I hope you caught on to this, because this makes it for me, man. When Dominic is writhing in pain on the ground, he can't see. He's calling for Rhea to help him, but he's calling her mommy.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's calling her.
Yeah.
He's calling her mommy. And
yeah,
that to me makes that, like, little things like that, man, it makes such a huge difference, because that all of a sudden that's really funny and really helps the character. He's screaming for mommy to come and help him.
Yeah, that, and then also backstage when he's getting checked out by the medical team, and he's like, it burns, and Damian Priest is like, something else could burn worse. Yeah, and then Rhea kind of gives him a look. Yeah, there's a part of me, I thought it was all, I think Asuka turning finally is going to be great. I think,
and it doesn't mean that she's turning heel. It just means that like she's going to be a badass now. You know?
Yeah. Is there any consideration? This is what I was thinking too. Is about the Judgment Day, because I think at some point Finn leaves Judgment Day. At some point, I don't know when it is, but I think it is. But I think they can keep that crew together. Is there any consideration that Dom is actually the leader, like becomes the leader? Because his heel work is just remarkable right now. Like it's such a turn in what we thought he could be.
Yep.
He's so good as a heel and truly hateable.
Yep.
That like he would be a good leader. Like as he needs to be protected by the powerhouses, Rhea and Damian Priest, but he's really the mastermind in this. And like, is it possible?
Maybe. I mean, I like right now where he's the simp, you know, and he's, I mean, you saw like Rhea gave Damian Priest this really high five right before the match started. And then Dominic motioned to Priest, put it up for me. And he does the same thing that Rhea does.
Yeah.
You know, I like him as the simp. Obviously, we're headed toward WrestleMania where we all believe he's going to fight his father. So I'm interested in how that's going to wind up playing out. I do wonder if when we get there, like, does he beat Ray? You would think like that's you
feels like it. It feels like that's the only thing that makes sense.
Right. It's the only thing that makes sense. But
it almost feels like it's like Ray's retirement match.
Maybe. But I'm more interested in how they get there as opposed to what the outcome is, you know?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it won't happen until after Rumble because it seems like they're setting up Karrion Kross and Rey Mysterio, right?
Well, yes, but is that going to happen at Rumble? Maybe, but I feel like there's got to be a moment, and this is what the fans want. There has to be a moment where, you know, maybe Dominic is in the ring by himself during the Rumble and Ray's music hits and he's the next entrance. And I was like, no. And now you get there has to be a face-off in the Rumble match between Ray and Dominic.
Right.
And Ray's going to eliminate him.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. Is like it won't get set up until Rumble or after. But yeah.
There's got to be a moment in the Rumble where it's Ray eliminating Dominic. And that eventually, and because you can keep them away from each other, they're on different shows. And then that leads to the WrestleMania match. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up that detail, the mommy thing, because there's like all throughout, by the way, like this week of WWE, my biggest takeaway from WWE programming this week was the little details. There's a lot of little things in there, just even from a production standpoint or just from like a mention standpoint, where it's like, God, the way they're thinking is like, if you're not really paying attention, you're not catching it.
Where are we going with Lashley getting fired? Like, what's the end?
Well, he's not fired. Adam Pearce put out Adam.
Why
Pearce,
why did they do the switcheroo so fast? Like, what was the point then in fire him? And then the next day they unfire
I guess we'll find out on Raw. I have no idea. My biggest thing from that was like, how do you think that played to the live crowd too? Like the live crowd is probably like, what the hell is happening right now?
Right, they can't hear that he's.
They can't hear him fire him unless you're like in that first row.
That's part of what happens when you're at the live show. You don't get the commentary, and you could be lost a lot of stuff. I mean, that does happen when you're at a live show. I wish there was a way that they could have the commentary team where you could hear them in the the audience, but
also
that's gotta be so distracting for the wrestlers. Then if you
but for that segment specifically, and this is the only miss there, and I guess the live audience is not necessarily the priority, but like, why can't Adam Pearce have a microphone? Like, why can't he just be like, you're fired,
Because he ran in that spot. He ran out there, to try and calm things down. He can't run out with a mic.
I like Pierce. I like him as the authority figure. I do. I think he's pretty good at it. He's a good talker. He's believable because he's a former wrestler and he's a pretty big guy.
Yeah.
I like Pierce. I like him being around. I liked his interaction with the Bloodline this week. I think he's good.
All right. So speaking of the Bloodline, we get SmackDown here. Yeah.
So before that, there's one thing I want to point out. I want to see if you noticed it.
Yeah.
There was a backstage segment with Gargano and Loomis where they're all drawing on a whiteboard trying to figure out how to use the money.
Is Loomis like legit artist? Does he draw all the things?
I think he does. Candice LeRae comes in and he's like, "What are you guys doing? Did you notice who was in the background? Who popped her head up in the background?"
I don't know.
Nikki Cross.
I did not see that.
Nikki Cross just sort of peeks her head out, from the background, a la Bray Wyatt being in the background.
Okay, I did not see
And
that.
Nikki Cross peeks her head out and then just goes back down.
Okay.
So
all right.
I thought that was pretty cool. And then obviously, so we had the KO, we had a tag match at the end of Raw. So this will lead into SmackDown because it was Bloodline, right?
Mm-hmm.
But or it wasn't a tag match. It was what was it? It was Elias versus
Solo. Yep.
But he wanted KO to be his backup, basically. And first of all, the first thing I liked was in the back, Kevin Owens just losing his shit on Elias. Like, you think I'm going to forget about the torture you put
I
me
like
through?
that. Yeah.
And referencing the Ezekiel thing.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Yep. That was good. And then what I also really liked is I think one of the more interesting things to me right now with the Bloodline is Solo. Where's his head at? So, because if at Raw, my takeaway from the very beginning, if you watch the very beginning of the match, Sammy's like pumping up the crowd and he's like hyping up Solo, and Solo turns and like makes this look at him like, what the fuck are you doing? And it distracts him enough for Elias to get the upper hand. So I'm like, all right, they're like Solo actually is starting to get a little frustrated here, right?
Okay.
Which I thought, but then you watch SmackDown. The Tribal Chief's back. Solo's wearing the shirt again.
And he was with Roman. He
raised the one.
Oh, okay. Good detail. Okay.
He raised the one for the first time in a month. So now it's like, if Roman's there, Solo is cool. But when Roman's not there and the boys are just running wild, I think Solo's not feeling it too much.
Okay. All right. SmackDown opened with Liv Morgan and Tegan Nox against Damage Control. And while that feels like kind of a nothing match, I thought the match was excellent. I thought it was a good match. But the thing is, who was the hooded person who knocks out?
They revealed it.
Oh, when did I miss that? Who was the hooded person?
WWE digital exclusive backstage.
Oh, okay.
It's Xia Li. It's Xia Li.
Oh, well, what's the MO there? Do we know
Nothing.
yet?
It was just it was the cops had her backstage. The hood comes off. It's Xia Li. Pierce interrupts them, and Pierce like tells her, let's go, and they're like having a talk. So it's Xia Li.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm waiting to see what happens.
I'm sorry to disappoint you, but
no, that's fine. But now I'm kind of like, all right, Xia Li is a badass. Why does she need to be in a hood and disguise herself if she wants to get involved?
I don't know. I'm a big Xia Li fan, though.
All right, look, I like letting stories play out. All right, so I'm not going to question it just yet. Let's see where it goes. But that's a little bit confusing to me. Like, why is she trying to go all incognito?
Yep. But once again, as good as the match was, that crowd does not know who Tegan Nox is, and they don't care.
That's right.
There's no reaction.
That's what happens when you bring out the stars either from NXT or wherever else. Like, you can't do it the way that the Forbidden Door gets opened up with AEW. Then that crowd's not going to know who the hell they are.
They love Liv. They like that. They react for Damage Control. They react for everything Liv does. Yeah. Tegan Nox comes in, that place goes silent.
Yeah, they don't know.
It's unfortunate because she is good, but the way they brought her in, that crowd just didn't know. They just don't know.
So most of the night was leading up to what's going to be essentially the main event, where are they or aren't they going to make Sami Zayn, Romo's en route to the arena? Jimmy and Jay are super excited. Sammy's all dolled up. He leaves the room backstage, and Jimmy's afraid that Jay has set Sammy up to be disappointed. He doesn't know what Roman's going to do and if Roman's going to make him. And the whole thing is reminding me of Goodfellas. The whole time it's, all right, they're going to make Joe Pesci's character. And then when Joe Pesci gets to the house where they're going to make him, they shoot him in the back of the head. They had a problem and they couldn't go through with it. Like, the whole setup to me was feeling like Goodfellas. That was good stuff.
Yeah. I also think that they're sort of like setting up Jimmy being the one who turns on Sammy eventually. Right? Doesn't it seem like
Jay is very on his side now, and Jimmy's a little skeptical.
Yeah, well, the backstage segment that they had, Jimmy was like, I like him. Like, I like him. He's my guy. I like him, but I love my family. So I'm with you.
And you had the moment where at the end of the show, when Sammy's talking to Roman and he's telling him,
I'm his only friend.
And the camera panned to Jimmy, and Jimmy gave him a look. Jimmy didn't like it. And you got to go back to when Jimmy was questioning Jay are you going to go tell the tribal, this so like a few weeks ago, are you going to tell the tribal chief about, his conversation with KO? So it really, it's a great point you're making there, because they really see the way that they're keeping this story alive, it seems, is okay, you had all the skepticism from Jay, and now they may be shifting to the skepticism from Jimmy.
Yeah. Yeah. And Solo. I think there's so I don't think Solo is a skeptic as much as I think he's getting frustrated with it. Like, I think Solo's like, there's this thing that I see from Solo where it's like, I'm not here for this bullshit. So when Roman's not there and they're all like, it's the whole Usi thing and they're all hugging each other and doing handshakes, Solo's like, I'm not here for this. The elders didn't send me here for this bullshit. I'm here for bloodline business. And he's not bloodline. Like, I could see that. And then also the Jimmy thing seems like where they're headed, that's actually really interesting. It's just cool the way they're keeping it alive.
So I wish somehow that we didn't know that Cena was going to be on the December 30th episode of SmackDown, because we knew that already. They announced that a week or so ago. And then once it sets up that KO is going to have a partner of his choosing for the end of the year to face Roman and Sammy, we all know before Cena pops on the screen that, okay, Cena's going to be the guy. So I don't know, like was it kind of backwards the way they went about announcing that Cena was going to appear? Because I wish that was a total surprise there, because that's obviously going to be fun. You're right. It's shaping up to be a pay-per-view caliber show probably.
And that's why they didn't do it as more of a surprise, because Cena even said it. And I bet, because this is a very WWE thing, right? Like remember Orton and Edge, all like for months they were promoting it as the greatest wrestling match in history,
right?
And you kept hearing that,
right?
Cena said it in his little promo that he cut. Can't miss main event. Watch how many times you hear the words "can't miss main event" over the next 3 weeks. They're doing
That's
it.
Going to be their slogan for it.
That's going to be their slogan for that last episode, the last show of the year with a can't miss main event. And they have to start it now so they can get people to watch, because they're really, really seems like they're pushing this thing hard to get this to feel like a big show.
Well,
obviously Cena's going to be on it. So
I already told you, we talked about this last week because the show's in Tampa. We already talked about this last week. And I told you before Cena was even announced that he was going to be on the show, let alone that he's fighting in a Roman Reigns in the main event. That show is almost sold out.
Right.
And they get great crowds there in that Central Florida area, and that was before the Cena stuff was announced. So that's going to be a really great crowd. I was looking at tickets because I'm considering going, but I'm not going to go because it's almost sold out. And on the resale market, decent seats are so expensive. That's going to be a big show, man. That's a hot show right there.
Isn't it cool too, like with wrestling, how time changes things? Like if Cena did that like rhyming kind of corny thing that he does like 6 years ago, people would have booed him out of the building.
No, I liked it though.
But now it's like, all right,
I liked it.
It's Cena. We like this. We
nostalgia.
Like
that's what it is.
Right.
It's nostalgia. That's
what and this has just always been Cena, he's one of those guys that and this is I'm not like breaking any news here. It just feels bigger. It just feels bigger, no matter what. Even just a pre-produced segment with him on the screen, it just feels bigger because it's him.
Ricochet versus Gunther was awesome. The crowd, we get on the WWE crowd, obviously, the live crowd. That crowd was hot as hell for that match. That was a great match.
Great match. Crowd was hot as hell, which makes me even more frustrated that they already had the Braun thing set up. Because, again, it's like, if you didn't know Braun was next for Gunther, then you would have believed that Ricochet could win that match.
There wasn't a moment where I thought Ricochet was going to win. There was not.
Right. We went into it with the understanding that Ricochet was going to lose. So
I went into it not knowing it was going to be a great match. I didn't know that.
That's fair. But they're both. I mean, Ricochet, we know with him that he's great, but we knew Braun is next, so we know he's not going to win. So that took away from it a little bit, because there was a little bit of me where it's like, this crowd might give you one of those reactions if Ricochet wins this match.
Yeah,
and
they
he's
were
not.
really into it.
But my biggest takeaway from that match, you ready for this?
Yeah.
Michael Cole, and you got to be a pretty hardcore fan to even catch this. He had one of the deepest cut references that I think I've heard him use on WWE programming. Ricochet did the kip, he does it, and there's one other guy who does it where in order to duck the clothesline, he does a kip up where he like falls backwards and kips up. So he did that. Michael Cole goes quick as a puma. Now, that might not mean much to a lot of people.
Okay.
Ricochet, when he was in Lucha Underground, was Prince Puma.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't know that.
So when he said that, I'm like, you damn Cole. That was crazy. It's like he just threw that in there. And you know what? Maybe it was unintentional, but I caught on to it because it's like, I think he was a guy named Prince Puma once, and I had to look it up, but he was.
All right, that's cool. Lastly here, before we get to Big Dirt, not a Big Dirt, they are continuing to stretch out this LA Knight Bray Wyatt story, which we both love. Bray Wyatt comes out, LA Knight, like he promised, he was going to stomp him out. And as he is stomping him out, I like that they made LA Knight look strong there finally.
What have you done?
Brother. LA Knight stomps him out. And then now we finally get to see Uncle Howdy, who, again, I got no idea who that character is.
I think it's Bo Dallas.
And he's just wearing like a lot of clothing to look hefty.
Well, Bo Dallas was pretty. I don't know if you remember Bo Dallas at the end. Bo Dallas was a big boy. Not as big as Bray, but he was big.
Well,
but the only reason I think that is because the voice of Uncle Howdy sounds like Bray.
Right.
So, and they're brothers. They do sound alike. I mean, they sound very similar. So that's my only thought there, but it could be anybody.
So, yeah. So Uncle Howdy now is officially in the picture. Now LA Knight knows, all right, it's not the same person. What the hell is going on here? And so now we've advanced the storyline. So, and of course we love that.
Yeah. And I guess now we get another month of teasing the reveal of Uncle Howdy.
Yeah. Right? Like it seems that they're going to fight at Royal Rumble. You got to keep stretching this thing out. Make it big.
But I got to think they're going to do something big with these guys on December 30th too. So at least that would be my estimate. If that show is supposed to be that big, something's going to happen there.
Yeah, but maybe this something is like finally revealing like a new member. Like maybe we find out the reveal of who Uncle Howdy is. But I don't think they're going to fight until Royal Rumble.
No. They got to draw it out. They still got to draw it out for sure. But fun, and it was the production of it was crazy. I mean, it was like watching a movie. I mean,
crowd's way into him, man. They love everything he does.
And LA Knight, dude. LA Knight. I mean, the way at the end of his promo, he was just like, yeah. Like he was just like he was losing his shit. It was like a different side of him a little bit. It was really cool.
Yeah, I like it. Let's do Big Dirt, not a Big Dirt, man. Come on, what do we got this week?
All right. Well, let's start with with the story that I don't think anyone saw coming. Earlier in the week, the Wall Street Journal came out with an article about Vince McMahon, and in it, there is a line that says, the 77-year-old Mr. McMahon has also told people that he intends to make a comeback at WWE. According to people familiar with his comments, he said that he has received bad advice from people close to him to step down, and that he now believes the allegations and investigations would have blown over had he stayed. Big Dirt, not a Big Dirt. Vince wants back in.
This is not Big Dirt because I don't buy it, okay? The story becomes salacious. It grabs the headlines, all the clickbait, when you have the headline there that Vince wants to return. That's what gets everybody to click on it. That's what gets everybody talking. I don't see a single scenario where, especially because there's more allegations in the story, I don't see a single scenario where Vince is brought back. I think it's a lot to do about nothing. This is not Big Dirt.
Yeah, Meltzer talked about it and basically, brought up a lot of the things that people would normally talk about, which is, Fox probably wouldn't have it. Right. They probably couldn't afford it. Yeah.
Not
all right. There's like some rumblings that Triple H and some of the other backstage officials are a little bit underwhelmed with some of the recent returns, because there's been a lot of them lately.
Yep.
So that they're a little underwhelmed with some of the recent returns. Is that, Big Dirt, not a Big Dirt, that these guys are just not really living up to what we thought? Some of them are. Some of them aren't. Big Dirt, not a Big Dirt.
I'm
Triple
going
H,
Big Dirt. I could see that being true. I could see it being true. I'm not
Tegan
necessarily.
Knox.
I'm not necessarily sure who we're talking about there.
There's so many. There's been so many
there's
returns.
So many. Right. But I'm going Big Dirt. I could see that where, he's given a big opportunity to a lot of these guys, and not all of them are going to wind up being great. So I could see that. I could see it.
All right. We've been wondering about Miro for a while. He did an interview where he said it's out of his hands. He's just waiting for his opportunity to return. Big Dirt, not a Big Dirt.
Yeah,
Miro wants in, but it's out of his hands.
This is Big Dirt. Miro and his hot wife, they're looking for an opportunity to get back into storylines. I think Miro's totally over. I think everyone loves Miro. He looks like $1 million. You know, I don't know why they can't figure something out for him. It's disappointing. I think he's easy to root for. So I go Big Dirt. Like, let's get Miro back in action, man.
Remember, I was saying Ricky Starks is cutting a promo and a heel comes out and tries to shut him down. Give me a Miro, returning Miro.
That's a good way to get
Ricky
him heel.
Starks.
Yeah, that's a good way. Yep.
All right, I got two more quick ones. So we know Gunther is going to be fighting Braun, but there's now backstage talk, rumors of who Gunther might be fighting at Mania. You ready for this?
Yeah.
One of the greats. One of the all-time greats who has never won an Intercontinental title, Brock Lesnar.
Wow.
Big Dirt, not a Big Dirt. The potential of Gunther and Brock at Mania.
Yeah, I'm going Big Dirt. That would be amazing. Amazing. Gunther, I really think, is one of the best out there. When Brock is motivated, we know he's amazing. He's as good a seller as anybody out there. He can really help make Gunther. I don't know that Gunther necessarily needs to be made. I think he's terrific. But he could really help Gunther in that spot. The only part, so it's Big Dirt, but the only part I question there is Brock doesn't care about the Intercontinental title. So does that mean that somehow they get the title off Gunther before WrestleMania and you still have Brock Lesnar versus Gunther? Because why does Brock care about the Intercontinental title?
Because he's a prize fighter and it's the only prize he hasn't gotten.
Okay.
Maybe. That's my first instinct.
Okay.
It's the one of the prizes he's never gotten, so maybe that's it.
I mean, he's never won the 24/7 title either.
Well, it's dead, so now he can't. All right, last one. I don't know. Do you know Michael Mansouri? He is the former WWE Vice President of Global Television Production.
Okay.
He left WWE a few years back. He went to the Pat McAfee show for a while. Then he went to One Championship. He has been hired as the senior vice president and co-executive producer of AEW to revamp their production. Big Dirt, not a Big Dirt. I'll just say I think this is massive dirt because AEW's production needs to be revamped. This guy was in WWE for 11 years, I think. He was supposed to be like the heir apparent to Kevin Dunn, and he's obviously gone now. He's now with AEW, and he's going to supposedly change some things up there.
Yeah, I'll go Big Dirt because nobody does production like WWE. And I'm talking in the entire sports world. Like, no one does it like WWE. And AEW does need a little bit of help in that area. They've gotten better, but they do need a little bit of help. So that is certainly an area where WWE is leaps and bounds better than AEW. And if this guy helps close that gap a little bit, that's good for all of us watching. So I'll go Big Dirt.
Yeah, at the very least, Mansouri, can you just tell the announcers to explain shit? That would be a huge start. Zaslow shouldn't be confused 2 weeks in a row. Right. At least, get in their ear and be like, guys, hey, guys, hey, man in the mask, hey, just explain why Roundball Rock is playing right now. Just do it. Just do it. If that would be he'd be worth the money if he just does that.
Excellent job there. Big Dirt, not Big Dirt. Again, ftxarena.com, WWE Live, December 29th. If you want to get your tickets, I will be there. I'm going to be there with my son. And that's obviously a fun Christmas gift for anyone out there. You're listening right now. Joey, really good job, man. We will do it again next weekend. It'll be Christmas Eve, the next episode. We'll get back to Saturdays. We had a little bit of technical issues yesterday, but we'll talk to everybody again next week, man. Good job out of you.
All right. See you next week. Thanks.